hours. Like they'll never catch us. Like they don't even know it's. Wait, it helps with erectile dysfunction.
I don't know if it helps. I don't know. It's just very ambiguous, if you ask me.
What the 5G erectile dysfunction kind of correlation is a bit
Yeah,
ambiguous.
yeah, it is.
We should just go live midway through this conversation.
I agree.
We've probably been live for about 20 minutes.
Well, at least two. Hello, welcome to the War Gamer. I'm your host, Rob.
Oh, we are. We actually are.
And welcome to the show. It's Monday night. It's Age of Sigmar night. And that means, oh, what an exciting time to be alive. I'm joined by Mr. Nathan Prescott. Hello, Nathan.
Hello.
Hello. And also by Mr. James Powell. Hello, sir.
Good morning.
Guten Tag. Welcome to the show.
Kia
Guillemora, yeah, I don't know what that means. Welcome to the show. It's Monday night. It's an exciting time to be alive. Second show of the day. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it indeed. Nay, 6 days before we try and live stream a tabletop simulator tournament that's happening this weekend with 32 players. That's going to be pretty exciting. The answer is which type of Seraphon will win. Can't wait to find out. That's the exciting headline to that. But before we do, I want to say hello to, thank you to everyone who's joined us in the chat. Martin Orlando, Brad Glover, Owen Jackson, yeah, K-Dread. And then I want to say thank you to everyone listening to the podcast. Stay hydrated. Do you, have I told you, oh, Grumslag, thanks for subscribing. Have I told you, James and Nathan, that we are on the road to 1 million? We're at like 940,000 downloads on the podcast. So in 60,000 downloads, we are going to be up to the 1 million mark. Yeah, the 1 million man march.
That's
which
pretty
is
fancy.
That's exciting, right?
Millionaires.
Yeah.
This time next year we'll be millionaires.
Just 1
Are we
million.
millionaires
so
yet?
if you only got 1 million, are you a million? You're a millionaire, but not millionaires.
You're a millionaire, yeah. You're a millionaire.
What if you have 2 million? Are you a millionaire or a millionaires?
No, you're just a millionaire still. You gotta get to a billionaire to get the upgrade.
Right.
You're a multi-millionaire if you got more than 1 million.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's true.
Okay. I like getting to 2 but not 3. I'd like to be a double millionaire but not a multi-millionaire, because I feel like I wouldn't be. Do you know what? It's a moot point. I'll never get there, so this is fine. So, Nathan, how have you been? Twitch chat, how are you?
I have been very well, sir. Enjoyed the warm weather last week, and this week's got started a bit chilly. The hobby on my end has been a bit lacking in the amount of quality or quantity or anything done. I've done nothing. Although I did, for the first time, I started looking at War Scroll Builder again and made a couple of grot lists. So, which is a good sign.
I tell you what, you're really mixing it up there. Like first go back, you were like grot list. That's the one for me.
Yeah, definitely. So,
On Call GM, thank you for subscribing, by the way. What grot list did you design, and why?
I made a Gobberpalooza list, and then I was making a Spider Fang list.
What, pure Spider Fang?
Yeah.
Interesting. And how did you rate the lists?
I think they're both quite fun, interesting. So yeah, it'll be fun to see if and when we can play Warhammer again. It'll be fun to maybe get them out on the table, I reckon.
We are but days away at this stage.
We're days away, but not days away.
Well, this is where it's a huge bonus to me. Yeah, we're currently neither positive or negative, but this is why I get the bonus of having 0 family means I get to include Nathan in my family. Unfortunately, Nathan has a family, so he hasn't included me in his. So I won't be playing Warhammer with anyone. That's really upset me. I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, Nathan, be in my 10. No. He just blanked me. But surely you like me more than one of your kids, at least.
One of my kids. You want to be one of my kids?
No, I want you to. I mean, you're old enough because you're super old. But no, that's not my point. My point is surely you like me more than at least one of your kids. Come on. Come on.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I've got no kids, so I like you more than my kids, Rob.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we've heard about those kids you've got.
Oh, Jesus. Talking of you, James, how are you, and have the kids escaped the basement?
I'm good. I concreted the basement in, so that's not a problem anymore.
Good.
Yeah, I'm good. I've actually, so this week is the first week of isolation where I've actually done some hobby.
Amazing. What did you do? Also, big shout out to Mask of a Man for subscribing, you sexy bastard.
I mean, it's really nerdy. So after this is over, I'm going to play some 40k with Nicholas Thompson and
Wow.
and Rob, the other Rob in my life. And so I've been making some 40k terrain.
What?
Right.
You've been making 40k terrain?
Yeah.
Why? Wow.
So I 3D printed it because I've not been 3D printing much. Painted it, stuck it together. It's really cool. So it all, hang on, let me find one. This is where it all goes wrong on air. It all clips together. So you can take it apart, put it in little squares, put it back together.
This is where I ask you, do you know about the Nova L's for 40k?
No.
So you know how Age of Sigmar we have the different battle plans, and then we don't have any set really designed for maps, like terrain maps, because terrain's such a big deal in 40k. They have one map called the Nova L. It's two equidistant L shapes, which everyone stands behind. To describe it as boring would be an understatement, and often they're made of polystyrene. But
Excellent.
Yeah.
Look how pretty this is.
It looks great.
I also printed, hang on. Look how good this thing is. I'm super excited about this bit. Look at this.
Oh, that's really nice. So are you going to paint up this terrain?
Yeah, I think so. So I've just sprayed it, washed it, dry brushed it. Might give it some more attention. But yeah, that's my first bit of hobby.
Oh, lovely. That's very exciting. Okay. So you're doing scenery. I've still got this to paint up. If you guys are interested to look at home, this is one of the Tabletop World's little hooses. I want to build myself a little village, I've decided, and I'm going to create a story for it. That's one of the things I want to do this week. I want to write a tale, old as time. Now, that could be because I've been reading the Soulbound book, the RPG, about the Age of Sigmar RPG. I don't know if either of you have read that yet. Picked it up.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Well, but if anyone would like to see an example of it, after this show, later tonight, Mr. Dan Sway, our man on the ground, our Australian in Canada, will be running a campaign online on this channel, and he's got some special guests. He has got some members of the Rage of Sigmar podcast network who are going to be on. Going to be special characters. So to say that I'm staying up for that would be an understatement. There's an entire bar downstairs of beer that's literally going off. I think I might just get drunk for the first time in my life and just write abusive things in the chat. I've never done that before, but I'm excited.
Sounds great.
It does sound
Cool.
great, because Nathan, you've been listening to Critical Role, right? So you're quite hype. You're quite hyped for this.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I didn't realise he's doing that. So is that Soulbound thing out now?
It's out, and it is available to purchase digitally. I'll send you the links after, or share a copy with you.
So is Dan DMing a campaign then?
Yes.
Cool. Who are the protagonists?
Well, so so it's the protagonist is the aforementioned Mr. Jacob Berry, Mr. Joe Pagano. I think Mr.
Oh, okay.
Tristan,
They're
and
not
I think also,
guesting. They're actually doing the whole thing. Cool.
Yeah, they're in it.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so join them later. I'm sorry, probably we could just turn this stream off now and just wait for that later, but that will be fun to watch. It does sound great, Wargaming Dad. So I'm looking forward to seeing that later tonight. So our show's not as long today, so we can give the perfect hype for that event. So there you go. There's some fun. Are you going to read it? Do you think? Are you likely to read it? There's some cool subclasses in there. Give some good background for the Age of Sigmar universe, especially like outside of the Battletome stuff. It's quite cool.
Yeah, no, I'd be interested in that. See if we can find a local group that would be up for maybe a little bit of that.
Okay, and it's also got our hype beast Tomb King Tristan and Man of the Hour Sinise, who was actually on the show yesterday. Me and Will got emotional yesterday. We had a long chat. There were tears, there were boilers, there were defining the true meaning of pleasure when it comes to wargaming. And you should listen to that show from yesterday. James, if I could ask for you a sentence, the true meaning of pleasure. Any thoughts?
No. Slanesh. Slanesh is the true meaning of pleasure. Until my elves come out, and then I'll be happy.
Well, you'll be excited because that's the subject of the show today. We're going to be talking about the Lumineth Realm-lord news. We were going to do the Sylvaneth subfaction stuff, but to be honest, I've actually been so excited about. I don't know how you guys have felt, but I've kind of missed just random snippets of news and changing what we think and getting us excited. That I'm kind of excited all over again. I don't know about you two. Are you either of you? I know James, you want to collect the Lumineth Realm-lords. So Nathan, how do you feel? Like excited anyway?
Yeah, I'm just excited for when we can play Warhammer again, really.
Yes.
So if it means that there's going to be some poncy little elves, all the better.
Does that mean you're going to put me and your 10 people? We can play games together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go on then.
Ah, yes. You can play someone else. But I have an entire. We could play in a bar for free, and you can get drunk the whole time.
Yes, you understand my language. You speak my language.
Yeah,
You're speaking Italian.
putting Rob in my 10 people now.
James, same offer. Oh no, wait, I don't know if we're allowed to do that. Is that a thing? Yeah, baby. So we're going to talk today about the news because actually there's been 2 officially released bits of news, and then there's been a bunch of leaks that have been put out, which I'll send to you guys later. But before we talk about Lumineth Realm-lords as kind of the main thing, we have to talk about the fact that we're probably all playing Warhammer the Old World. I didn't think I would be interested, but by God, they got me. The fucking rat bastards. They fucking got me because they have showed they've showed today some bear ice cavalry.
What?
Yes, Nate.
Where's
Where's this?
I love the fact that Nathan comes so prepared that when he hears the news, he has the reaction of anyone in the chat that hasn't seen the news.
So I'll put the link in the chat. Nathan, if you just type Warhammer community, they've showcased it. Now, a rumor that I've heard, and this is only a rumor, yeah, because one of the things that's quite interesting is obviously we're seeing some model designs, but where is the rules working? And obviously these early concepts that we've got for Bear Cavalry from Kislev is pretty exciting. But where do we think they're going to get the rules from? Because they have to come up with a whole new game system. Is it going to be? Well, I think they're just going to buy the 9th Age. This is my.
I think they just
gossip.
get 8th Age back, put a new cover on it, and put it out.
Now, I personally think that they're going to have bought or might buy the 9th Age rule set. And then, because the thing that they're trying to do is attract all of those 9th Age wargamers back over, right? That's the plan. Yeah? So why not do what they did with Blood Bowl, grab that group of people, just bring them over, yeah? Does that make sense? And then they were like, yeah, okay, this is the game we invented with our rules. And then but maybe they won't. Maybe they're a bit too narrative. But whatever. Nathan, have you seen the Bears yet?
Yeah.
James, what do you think of them?
So I think, like, every time I see the Old World stuff, I'm like, it's really cool. Love the map. Love seeing it. And then the little thing in the back of my head's like, 5 years. Don't get too excited.
Because the thing is, I don't think it's going to be 5 years. I think it's going to be below 2.
They said 5, didn't they, when it all started?
I think it was 3 years. Yeah. Oh, I can't see it coming out within 3 years. I mean, that's only a picture or a pencil drawing, isn't it? So it's not They've not even got the models going yet, so
Well,
And
no,
I-
but
I
if they've
can't imagine.
but if they've signed off on the bear, like if they're showing it, that means they've signed off on it. That means that is the picture, if that makes sense.
I've
yeah,
got
but
a good
But
question.
that's not the model, is it?
No, it's true. Yeah.
That's
I've got a good
just,
question.
Go on then. What is it?
Would you play Ninth Age?
It's a great. Nathan, what do you think?
If I
Tell me,
wasn't
Nathan.
busy,
Oh no, is Nathan's internet broke or my internet? James?
No, Nathan's crashing. I think.
hello.
Oh,
Oh,
hi, bro.
hello?
Yeah, hello.
Can hear
Was
ya.
that, have you given your answer? Did he somehow
Yes.
pause his internet?
Just pause the internet, answered, unpaused.
I put my answer in the bag of holding.
Nathan, you're a techno wizard now.
Okay.
James, what about you?
No, I
Oh, go on.
would be playing Ninth Age if I wasn't playing Age of Sigmar. But I'm playing Age of Sigmar. I don't have time for loads of other games.
That's fair. That's super fair. James,
I
what are your
think
thoughts?
I just think like Eighth Age was a really good game before its time.
Oh, we've lost you now. What the hell? This is the best. Martin
I don't know,
Orlando.
like, oh, can
Martin
you hear me?
Orlando AOS asks,
Hello?
"What if it's 50? Hello, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah.
Can't wait. I can't wait till we can just all get back into the studio together. It's going to be the best.
I thought this was the way we always do it from now on.
He's back. No, we could hear you the whole time, James. It was the internet that
here.
was the issue. Good.
Oh, okay, cool. I don't know. I just think like eighth edition was really good at the time. Not sure it's so good anymore. And I don't think I could read 460 something pages of rules to play a game again. Like,
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't think I
no.
can be bothered.
Nah, if it's like that, I can't be asked. Like,
I think
you know,
gaming's changed, hasn't it? I think for me, like since 8th edition existed, like gaming has changed. Like it's easier to pick up, and I know there's the convolutedness of Sigmar when you get into it, and there's every faction and whatever. But you realistically only have to learn the rules for one faction to be able to play your own army. And I think like so that's what, one book, few rules, about 3 pages of core rules instead of 8 pages on how you pivot. No, it's not for me. If the models are cool, I'll buy the fucking ice bears, but I doubt I'll play the game.
yeah, like the convoluted. If it's rank and flank, if it's like the square bases and the way that they make you fight before, I'm just out. Like if I got like if someone and me are like, is that a 45 degree angle? And someone's like, yeah, I reckon. Even though we got the laser pointers nowadays, yeah. But the models, so I think Martin Orlando says, what if it's 15mm like models? I don't know. I don't give a shit. I guess is my answer.
Oh, if it's 15mm, why bother?
No one cares.
Like here's this beautiful artist sketch of a bear. How much do you want it? Loads. Here it is in 15mm. Has it got a face? No. How many fit on a base? 40. It's cool. I'm all right. I watched where was I? At London. I went to a show at the Alexander. What was it? Not UK Games Expo. One at the Alexander Palace, like a wargaming convention. And there was some guys playing a game I'd never heard of, and every model was a 15mm, and each base had about 60 men on. And I walked past, and he'd just got like 100 bases with 60 men. I was like, these just look shit. Like, I'm all right.
I like. Why would you just change what it is now? I don't understand. Like, I don't want to. Nathan, like, you're a builder. Isn't the size of the models we play right now like the perfect size? Like, wouldn't you say just like perfecto?
No.
What size should they be?
Life size. True scale.
True
Life
scale.
size.
You mean
life
like in
size.
Harry Potter where they play chess with like giant?
Yeah. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Perfect. Yeah, same. I couldn't agree with you more. Also, less models as well. I'd only have to paint probably like 5 models, and I could use a roller. So just a lot stronger for me. Anyway, these
You could really interact with the models then.
you could
Mm.
in maybe
There
a
was,
sexual way.
To go completely off thing, there was the game where they had 75 mils, wasn't there?
Sorry, say that again.
There was a Warhammer game, Inquisitor, where you had
Yeah.
75 mil models. They were quite cool. I've got one somewhere. Never
You've
played
got
the game.
everything somewhere. I've been to your house. Where is this all hiding?
All in the loft. There's just like 8 giant boxes of ancient Warhammer up there.
Is your loft like the loft in the Goonies, where it's just like old pirate
just-
bones?
The remains of people that I didn't get on with. All there.
Jesus.
All those children.
Oh, Scott, Scott Freddy, thanks for subscribing. Bigger is better, right. Okay, well, what does everyone in the chat think of the ice bears? I think they look super rad. I'm looking forward to them, no matter what any of our wild predictions might be. Them by Ninth Age is my favourite one at the moment, because I think it's a tactically sound piece of community development, like they did with Blood Bowl, where they went to Blood Bowl and they said, look, you guys are playing the game right now, what's the rule set you're using? We'll incorporate it into that game and then we'll just flog it to people. So if they just did that with the rank and flank guys, Skinky Steve, thanks for subscribing, and then they brought that over and then they pushed it out, then very likely that would be a good way to incorporate and ingratiate themselves to that community. They might not want to, and instead they might want to be like, we're going to just, I don't know, whatever. And maybe they don't want to make anything that complicated. Maybe they want to make it simpler. I agree with you, James. I actually think one of the big bonuses of Age of Sigmar and 40k is that it's relatively simple to pick up and understand the mechanics on the tabletop, whereas like complicated like wheel charges, and it just seems odd sometimes, right? Yeah.
It's just so long-winded, I think. Like, I just think when you go back to like old school war games and look at the rules, and you're like, this is cool, but it's super, super complicated. Like, to learn it inside and out, I've got to, sit and read the rules, then play the game, then go back to the rules, then find page 132. Whereas you can pick up Sigmar fairly quickly. I know if you go into an event, there might be a lot more rules and loads more to remember, but I think like the base mechanics of the game you can pick up easy, and if you get an enjoyment from it, why does it matter?
It's true. That's fair. All right. Well, so in the chat, Malaki McCrudden says they're going to make all the monies. I think that's fair. Pete Pratt says I think the ice bears are cool. There we go. Mr. T says can't wait to rent out a football stadium to play a game of life-size AOS. That would look awesome.
Maybe we should do it when it's all over.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Isn't
I
it
will
called
dress
LARPing?
Yeah, LARPing. I'll dress as a witch elf.
No. It can't be
I'm
LARPing.
out.
Two people have got to sit at the back on like high seats, directing every set of people.
Yeah, like on tennis chairs, like the judge tennis chairs. Yeah, all right.
That's the one.
Silver Templars, every Old World article is just make me think, please don't fuck this up, yeah. Plus also, it's just teasing all of the people that were salty about Age of Sigmar, which, to be honest, if you were salty about Age of Sigmar, I understand your pain, but if you're still salty about Sigmar, you're a bit of a whiny bitch at this stage, and I enjoy seeing your salty tears on the article posts. Makes me laugh.
Yeah, it's quite funny when you go through the Facebook pages and every now and again you come across somebody saying, put it back on square bases.
Yes, still. What?
Still.
Like 5 years on.
You keep plugging away, mate.
Like, you kind of want to go around their house and they haven't like upgraded to like electric kettles yet. They're like, never, I'm not doing it.
Just you wait till you find the 5G, buddy.
They won't find any around here. I've burnt down all the towers. Big shout out to Aaron Wilson AOS for subscribing for 10 months. You angel. You gorgeous faced angel. Can't wait to see you grow a beard. I would never rebase against the kids with SIDS. Nah, neither would I. All right, so it looks super cool. The old world making a return. That's funky, especially with the amount of Total War I think people have been playing recently. The concept that you might be able to get into it is fun via that route. So, should we talk about the Lumineth Realm-lords, which is why we're here?
Yeah.
So I'll quickly tell you the two bits. So we're going down two routes today. Games Workshop have released 2 bits of information officially, right? But because of the release schedule for White Dwarf, as in White Dwarf is made months ahead of time, is then sent off somewhere to be printed cheaper than if they did it locally. It's then delivered back to the shores and to shores all around the world, yeah? Like, which is why sometimes you'll see a picture taken in Germany or something else. So therefore, we've seen some of the White Dwarf stuff leaked today via pictures. And therefore, we've been able to gather some information, because in that is a Lumineth Realm-lords battle and battle report, and therefore there's some information on some of the rules. So we've got official information to talk about, and then we've got unofficial information to talk about, and the unofficial information comes from this source. So some of you may have already seen it. I sent it to you guys earlier, so it's quite cool. So we know the points of some of the units, but we still don't know loads of information. We don't know what battle traits the whole army has, like army-wide. We don't know what the spell lore is, but we're going to be able to make some like general guesswork and have a bit of a laugh. And honestly, it's kind of exciting, because it's been a while since we've had any news. And so I just thought we'd talk about it if you guys are interested.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so today, I don't know what the guys are saying in the chat. Okay, all right. So the first thing that we've seen was last week. I don't know if you saw this, but the Light of Altharion is a suit of armor that's an elf, or it was an elf, and then its soul got put into a suit of armor, and he's pretty baller in close combat. Have you guys checked him out yet?
Yep.
Yeah.
No.
You have.
I have. Nathan,
What do
has
you
not.
think? What do you think?
Me?
Yeah.
So I think, my favourite thing, I think, about these rules leaking, especially because it was for an army I was going to buy, which, whatever happens, is remembering, the drama around an army release. Like, Games Workshop drip feed you the best rules for some of the cool models. People cry for, all over the internet. And then 2 weeks later, they release the book, and they're like, this guy you cried about, 9,000 points.
Well,
Can't play him. Just buy him.
So what, have you seen the points today that have come out? Because
Yeah,
we know the points for him. Oh, no, don't say. Because if you
Okay.
haven't, we get to ask Nathan to guess the points, unless, Nathan, you've seen the points.
No.
Okay, sweet. All right, let me tell you what the guy does then, and then you
He's
can tell me.
baller.
Okay, so he's baller. So he's got 7 wounds with a 3-up save. He's on foot. We don't know his movement, but I imagine it's an elf somewhere between 6 and 9, but probably movement and 6.
5.
Movement 5.
So somewhere, and you might have seen it, I'm pretty sure somewhere I saw in an article it said they're pretty slow for elves.
Oh, okay.
So I reckon
Okay.
5 or 6.
Oh, well, 6 is the standard, right? Anyway. But
maybe 5.
either way, so he's on foot and he doesn't fly, Nath. So that's an important point, right?
Yeah.
But he has got a 3-up save and he's got 7 wounds. And that 3-up save is unrendable. He ignores all rend, yeah? But he also can't get cover. So he's on that 3-up save no matter what.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ethereal.
Ethereal.
Face. Yeah.
He also halves all damage in the shooting phase and in the combat phase. It doesn't say anything about magic, so halves his wounds in shooting, halves his wounds in combat. So
halves the damage from each attack. So like a damage 1 attack still does 1 damage.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Same as a Stonehorn.
So
The
that's
old stone, yeah.
So that's his survivability, which is
Mhm.
pretty
So
brilliant.
he's tough.
Yeah, tough as. Then in close combat, he's got the Fang Sword of Altharion, which is 4 attacks, hits on 2s, wounds on 3s, rend 3, damage D3. He's then got the
How many attacks? Sorry.
4.
4. 4 at D3. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty tasty, yeah.
Pretty tasty, absolutely. Gursey also makes a really good point. Also, impact hits from charges are not halved, nor are any damage that's done to him in the movement phase. It does specify the shooting or the combat phase, so there are probably going to be some workarounds to beat this guy up, which is good, as well as magic, which obviously...
Quite a few people can attack in the hero phase as well, can't they now?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, then he's got 2 attacks, hits on 2s, wounds on 3s, rend 1, doing D3 damage with his other blade. Yeah? Now, so the other stuff, he ignores all minus to hit modifiers. So he's always going to be hitting on a 2.
Ignores all minus to hit
Yeah,
modifiers.
you literally can't. so you can't change it so that he's hits on anything but a 2. And then if he's charged this turn, he gets +1 to wound, so that means all of his swords will be wounding on 2s, otherwise they'll be wounding on 3s. Because of his Swordmaster rule, any 6s to hit will generate 2 wound rolls, and any 6s to wound will generate an additional 1 mortal wound.
Okay. He's really good, yeah.
Yeah, he's
Has he
really
got
good.
command abilities?
We don't know that yet. It doesn't say on there whether or not he does have a command ability, but currently
But
that's what...
he's a hero, so he should have a command ability.
Yeah. But maybe he won't. Maybe he's in that sort of category. A really interesting thing actually came up yesterday. I know we're talking about Lumineth, but Smorgan actually came up with an amazing point. I don't know if you've noticed this, or we skipped over this because we're having such a fun time reviewing the Seraphon Battle Tome. But do you know on one of the Skink Priests, you know how you have command abilities?
Yeah.
The Skink Priest has something called a minion ability.
Minion ability?
Yeah, minion ability. So if you guys all crack open your War Scroll Builder, not War Scroll Builder, sorry, your app, the Warhammer Age of Sigmar app, second best app of 2020, the first one being Battlescribe, and then you just type in Skink Priest. This is a fun little thing that I've seen, that Sam showed me. Not Skink Priest, sorry, Skink Star Priest. Nope, not the Skink Star Priest. Oh, which one is it? Starseer? Oh my god, which one is it? Skink
Is it the one on the throne?
It's one of them. I looked it up earlier. Astromancer's Staff.
Minion. I got it.
Which one is it?
The Skink Priest, Starstone Staff, minion abilities.
Yes. So title. So if you guys look on here on my phone, or if you guys look, so you've got command abilities, and then you've got a brand new heading, minion abilities, which is fun. So what we might see in what we might be seeing in the future in the new GHB is a new resource mechanic for minion abilities. So you might generate minion points, whatever the F a minion point is, or maybe you can only do a minion ability and a command ability at the same time. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, because he's got command ability and a minion ability, hasn't he?
Yes.
It's interesting to see something called a minion ability, but us not knowing how you activate that ability.
What it is.
Or what it costs.
Yeah.
Well, so actually, because one of the really interesting things I think when we go to find out about some of the Lumineth stuff in a bit, or where this might become relevant, is that the Lumineth also have a resource that it's some sort of I can't remember, Azurite something stone. I can't remember the name.
Isn't it? It's Aether Quartz. Aether Quartz, isn't it? The same as the brooch.
Yeah, Aether Quartz. So they have, it seems, each unit has a resource of Aether Quartz, which I find quite interesting because it's a lot like the gold that you get from the Kharadron Overlords. So one of the things that they might do in the future is they might have like ways to like buff a unit up itself. So they might be doing minion abilities as a resource mechanic. Units have their own resource, like Kharadron Overlords. You've got the gold. Lumineth Realm-lords, you've got these little like Aether Quartz tokens for each unit. So that's a kind of interesting future for the game that we haven't considered yet, that we might be getting more resource stuff. What do you guys in the chat and you two think?
Cool, as long as it doesn't get too complicated. Like we were saying earlier about the square-based game. It's all well and good until it starts getting a bit too overwhelming with too many things for everybody to keep tabs on.
That's a fair point. Heinrad also says you need a secondary resource now that dice rolls are just 2 pluses all the time.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I don't overly want to keep... I don't want to play a game of bookkeeping. I think that's probably one of the most boring ways to play. But, you know, for guys that work in an office creating spreadsheets of rules all day, I could definitely see why they think spreadsheet management wouldn't be that bad as a game. Is that fair? Or is that...
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just something that just came up, which I thought... which I thought was interesting. Owen in the chat says OBR are 100% resource management army. Their success is bound to that mechanic. Also, James, Nick saying don't ignore the 40k chat, by the way. Make sure you keep up with that.
It's too many chats.
Hookerpin says, is less likely a chance of actually having a game of Warhammer? It's just going to push people out of the hobby? Question mark. Maybe. I'm not 100% certain. But I don't overly want to play a resource management game. But anyway, I thought that was cool to bring up. I don't know why I brought it up during the middle of the Light of Altharian chat, but is that cool? Is that interesting? Or it's just a cool little thing?
Be interesting to see what that is and where it goes. If he's the only one that has an ability as a minion or a minion ability, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's yeah. Okay, right. So
it's an interesting spot, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. It might have been a mistake as well, like having it uploaded. Hey, Jabs.
Yeah, those happen.
They do happen. Hey to everyone who's joined us live, by the way. Big love to you. Thanks for being here. We're talking about the Lumineth Realm-lords stuff. So, the Light of Altharian, Nath, that's everything he does. 3-up save, unrendable, always hits on a 2, no matter what, can't demodify it. Wounds on a 3, all wounds on a 2, generates extra hits on 6s, does mortal wounds on 6s to wound, D3 damage, rend 3 on his main sword. So, what do you think?
So,
how many points?
Well, a couple of questions. We obviously don't know if he's got command abilities in.
We do not.
But we'd assume he does. And would we know, is he unique? Can he take artifacts?
He's unique.
And so he can't take artifacts as well. So I reckon he's got to be over 200. Or the 200-ish mark, maybe a bit more. But that depends on his command abilities a lot. If they're really good, or if he's got other command ability access. He's not a wizard, is he?
Nope.
No.
Not that we know of.
No. So I would say between 200 and 250, somewhere there.
Oh, smashed it. I actually guessed 220, and he is 220. We found that out today. Which, James, you've been looking at this. How did you feel about the 220 point mark? And do you like the model?
I think that model is ace. So I think the other day there was a debate when those rules dropped before the points dropped in one of the chats, maybe the Scribes one, and everyone was debating him and how horrible the rules were. And someone was like, "Oh, I think he'll be loads of points." I was like, "Doesn't matter. Great model. Just going in my army."
Yeah.
Not bothered. Also, it just looks cool.
Also,
because I mean, 7 wounds with a 3-up save is the same as a mega boss, and he's 150, 170, something like that. But this guy is better in a fight than a mega boss, and he's tougher than a mega boss. And the mega boss command ability is pretty meh. So yeah, so this guy's better than that. So he's definitely worth more than that. But yeah, it just depends on those other things like the he's obviously going to be faster than a mega boss, but then you would think his command ability is probably stronger than a mega boss command ability.
I promise you I'm listening, but I just also would like to point out how incredibly aesthetic your setting is, Nath. You've got this you've got the soft orange light in the background, the nice white walls, the red flowers. You've crushed that YouTuber vibe. I can't wait for the next videos to come out from you. Could we all just take a moment to look at that panel? Look at you. You look great. You look gorgeous. James looks like he's about to do some gardening afterwards.
I only fans account in a bit, and we can jump on there.
Yeah. James, could you tell us some more about Custodies? That's what we currently want to talk about, apparently.
No, we're not talking about Custodies here. We talked about mega bosses, and we've talked about elves, and we're going to continue to talk about elves, and Nick can sulk.
Good. All right. Dexamon in the chat says Nathan has been sexy as fuck since the Rona hit. So since Nathan's been able to style his own backdrop. To be fair, look at my backdrop. Awful. Like a disaster site. And then, Nathan's crushed it. Anyway, I think 220 seems really fair. One of the things that I said, because I've looked at his model a couple of times and talked about it on the show, one of the things I said was, obviously he doesn't fly. He's quite slow. And it's nice to have an on-foot character that is could be a duelist, that duelist role where he could get in there and actually fight with stuff. But he's got some obvious limitations without pushing him to be as mental as Gotrek, where Gotrek's this kind of sometimes feel bad mentality for how good he is. So Altharian seems like a good piece. I think doesn't upset me. Sometimes it'll upset me when he just won't fucking die, and he just like.
I hate that every time I play. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it will depend on the Lumineth abilities, their innate abilities, and the allegiance abilities, and all of that sort of stuff. So.
Okay, well, so we do know some of this stuff now, so we can start talking about some pretty scary stuff that we've seen. But before we do that, we'll talk about the spells which are in the little bottom panel. So today they've announced their endless spells, and two of them at least, Nath, are super sweet. Although one of them's very confusing. It's a very poorly written article for us to understand what it does.
No, poorly written.
No, it's not hyperbolic.
That doesn't happen.
It's pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's pretty bad. Wait, hold on. Get you all those. Right. Well, so they've got 3 endless spells, as is usual. And honestly, it's really badly written. I had to start again. Maybe the new guy, like the guy they had before, was off or something. But it's put together quite badly. So they've got these 3 spells, and the first one is the Sanctum of Amniotok. So manifesting as ritual circle, the life force of the realm pours forth, blah, blah, blah. Now, it doesn't actually say that this wraps around the unit, but this works the same as Scuttletide, I pretty much think. I think effectively it attaches to the unit, because its ability wouldn't make sense if it didn't, but they don't explain that in the article. So the Sigil of Yingara, I think that's right.
Yingara.
Yingara. Yeah. And Aaron Wilson in the chat is saying, every time I read this, I understand it less. And I think that's fair. But you subtract 1 from hit rolls and add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target this model. So effectively, it's Scuttletide. You attach it to a wizard, so a wizard will summon it, attach it to itself. Yeah. And then,
does it say it has to be attached to itself?
No, it doesn't say anything. I'll read you everything if you want.
Yeah,
and then
from the beginning.
I'm reading between the lines. Okay.
Hang on, are we ready, Twitch chat? All of us together, the combined hive mind of the entire chat. Okay. Let's go.
Manifesting as a ritual circle, the life force of the realm pours forth from the ground to create a crackling shield. The rune form of Yingara can be seen synonymous with rescue and imprisonment. Incoming harmful attacks and energies are converted into flashes and whip cracks of light, lashing out at any foe foolish enough to come close. So that's the story bit, yeah? They don't actually specify, because they have a group shot above this, and then they don't show that it's that spell, but...
It's definitely the circle.
It's the circle, yeah?
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah, okay, right. So how are you all doing so far? So that's the story book, right? Then the Sigil of Yingara, as stated, subtract 1 from hit rolls and add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target this model. So in order for it to attack this model, it would have to be attached to... So the Balewind and Scuttletide become the model.
Arachna Cauldron.
Arachna Cauldron. That's why I kept saying Scuttletide. I'm so sorry. Arachna Cauldron. Yeah.
So it becomes part of the unit, you would think, whatever unit it is cast on or at.
Yes. Yeah, so you would, effectively, like the Arachna Cauldron, you cast it and it becomes part of you. Because it's quite, as you can see from the circle, when we get to it, what's going to happen is Teclis is going to run into the middle of the board. Yeah, he's going to cast this spell. Well, he's going to, no, because that won't be the right order. Never mind. Or maybe he'll cast his spell, fly to the middle of the board, and then he'll be like, I'm -1 to hit, and I'm +1 save. Fuck off, dickheads. Right? That's the tactic. Right? The other bit is... in addition, at the end of the combat phase, if this model was targeted by an enemy attacks during that phase, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches of this model. On a 1 to 3, nothing happens. 4 to 5, 1 mortal wound, but on a 6, they suffer D3 mortal wounds. Right?
That smells gross.
Well, I mean, the D3 mortal wounds isn't a big deal, but -1 to hit and +1 save is a big deal.
It's -1 to hit. The guy in the middle's got +1 save, and if you do anything, you can take D3 mortal wounds. Have a nice day.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Also, Nathan, you've had a question in the chat. Mr. Jonathan Idlunda says, did you start the PC computer all by yourself, Nathan?
No, I shook it and then I called the PC computer minion to perform his minion ability and push the button.
Yeah.
Ability. Yeah, I managed to fire it up.
Okay,
After I've taken training from a Swedish gent.
Have you spoke to him earlier? I spoke to him today. We had a hangout. It was great.
Oh, no, I haven't spoken to him today.
He's on the show on Thursday night talking 40k. James, maybe join us.
What?
Oh, yeah. I could come to a Custodes. That's all I know. That's all I'm bothering to learn.
Do you know there's a Custodes only 40k channel that you can learn loads of stuff from?
Oh.
No, they're friends of the show. They're friends of the show. Canhammer.
Okay.
Great guys.
Okay, maybe.
Great guys. Yeah.
Been reading a book. That's how I'm learning about Custodes.
What do you think of them narratively?
The book I'm reading is really good. So it is after the 2 named Black Library characters that you can buy as models that I brought as models. So then got the book.
Okay, good. All right, sweet. All right. Oh, anyway.
Sorry.
Okay. I know. I'm glad. I like it. Valdor is an amazing book. I agree with that. Anyway, so what do you guys think of this endless spell? Because it's quite a cool thing. A wizard becomes more survivable because he's cast some protection around himself, like a mystic barrier, basically.
Sounds right.
Yeah, I think it's even more interesting. So obviously we don't know all the ins and outs, but like, so if you can drop that on a unit, so those spearmen, let's say they're fairly tanky, then you throw this on them and you're like, cool. Now I'm -1 to hit, +1 save.
I think it'll be
20 men on an objective.
It doesn't specify, but I think it'll be on the caster. Like it has to attach to the caster.
Yeah,
It's an endless spell though.
If it said model, then it does sound like it is the caster that's going to be doing it.
Yeah.
Still cool.
Still cool.
I guess it depends how many super strong wizards there are other than Teclis, I guess, right?
Yeah. And obviously there's going to be some more rules to that, so be interesting to see what the other things are. That's not the full set of rules for that, is it?
No, we don't know what the full set of rules are. Obviously, we don't know its casting value, what it is to set up. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that we're missing there. Okay, but that's that one. I personally think that Teclis will be able to cast it. I think that it would be odd if he didn't.
You were saying it physically looks like a ring. Is it
Yes.
You sent that picture in the WhatsApp? It's that fiery thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's the one. Yeah. Yeah, so it doesn't look like it's very mobile either. So you might be locked in place by it.
Yeah, it could be. But anyway, I think it's going to be. I think Teclis is going to be a lot more survivable than we assume. But you are going to have to pay points to add to that survivability. So A, are the points going to be worth it? B, is it going to be better on a different wizard for some reason? But when we get to how Teclis maybe plays on some of the rules that we know from the White Dwarf article, it might make sense as to why you might just bang this on him and stick him in the middle of the board. So the next one is arguably the most confusing. So this is the 2 gems, the Hishian Twin Stones. There's a purple one and a pink one. And get ready for a wild ride of us not really knowing what the hell's happening. So would you like the narrative or just the rule?
Narrative.
Okay. 2 matching
Hang on,
prism.
let's get comfy again.
Okay. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, no problem. I'll do it like this. I'll sound like an elf. 2 matching prism-like gems, each larger than an elf. Hovering in the air in a slow orbit when summoned, they act as reservoirs of arcane power, each collecting etheric energy and charging the other. A skilled Lumineth Realm-lords wizard can draw on nearby twin stones to enhance their own abilities. That's the story.
Okay.
Did I
Beautiful.
Did I break it? Sorry.
The end.
The end. Right. Okay. Are you ready for the rule?
Yeah.
Okay.
Always.
Okay. Have you got pen and paper? Okay. So here's
Pen
the
and
rule.
paper. Why?
Here's the rule. Reservoir.
Oh, hang on. I've got paper.
Why do we need
Hang
pen
on.
and paper?
Let's get
Got a
ready.
pen.
Okay.
I've got paper. I'm ready.
When this model is set up, Place a d6 beside it with the 1 facing up.
Oh no. I read this earlier. Yep.
Each time a spell is successfully cast by a unit within 12 inches of this model and not unbound, after the effects of the spell have been resolved, increase the value of the dice beside this model by 1 to a maximum of 6.
Okay. So far, so good. Yeah.
End.
What?
That's where I got to. So I was like, this makes no sense. Like, what does it do?
What was that last bit? The end.
No, it doesn't say the end. In fact, they didn't. Oh, no, they did put a full stop.
That's the description.
That's the
everything.
description. That's
It
everything.
just counts. So it just counts spells. Great. Up to 6.
10 points. 10 points. It just counts. It just counts. You're like,
You've
what are you
got
doing
6 or possibly more spells. Thanks, mate.
Maybe you could just use it as a tracker.
Yeah, it's just that. It's just like the guys that Alex Butler's here in the chat. Maybe they're just like really fastidious. They're like, if you're going to cast spells, I'm going to want to keep a track of it, please. This is really important.
Only up
They
to
can
6.
only count till 6.
Well, elves have only got 6 fingers, haven't they?
That's true.
Yeah. So my assumption is that the wizard who is attached to it, because in the picture the spell is right next to the wizard maybe can either use it for some sort of resource, but obviously we haven't heard the rest of what it can do, so therefore it seems pointless to have told us anything, but okay. Yeah.
Yep. It is
yeah.
pointless up to and beyond the value of 6.
I think if you could use it so you get pluses to cast, or you could siphon out the energy to either get pluses to cast or pluses to unbind. That would be really sweet, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, that pen and paper, just put a to be continued on it. Then the next one, the Rune of Petrification. Although I like that one. I like that it's a wizard accompanying spell, just like the other one. I think that's quite cool, because we haven't seen many manifest to protect the wizard spell thing, which I think is quite a cool mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I like the cauldron a lot, because it interacts with the wizard and the people around the wizard. It's fun.
Ooh. Yeah, I agree. And then finally, Rune of Petrification. When summoned stones assemble to a ponderous mystical rune on tendrils of swirling energy, a thing of dread even for the Lumineth, the Rune of Petrification cannot easily be dispelled once released, and its power is oppressive. Nearby enemies will begin turning to stone in a matter of moments, eventually becoming inert statues if they remain in its presence. So at the start of the movement phase and at the end of the movement phase, roll a dice for each unit that's within 6 inches of this model. On a 4+, it suffers D3 mortal wounds. In addition, subtract 1 from run and charge rolls for units within 6 inches of this model. This ability has no effect on Lumineth Realm-lords.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Very good, yeah.
So, there you go. It's decent. It's really good. Depends where you can put it on the range.
Do you think when you use that stone spell, you get to take a can of grey spray paint, and every model it kills, you can spray grey? Do you think people would be okay with that?
Motherfucker.
Stone!
I think people would be slightly pissed. So you say when someone is petrified, they slow down, stares in petrifex. Yeah, I think that's right. Putting on an objective, I think, is fair. That's a sensible decision. Well done, Aaron. Also, to Fire Slayers, that's going to piss them off. That'll be great, because it'll be quite hard to get out of that range. And Mr. T says, am I the only one bummed out that we didn't get a giant udder endless spell? Missed opportunity. I agree with that. It's utterly ridiculous. Anyway, that's a cool spell. But we haven't seen. They don't really have any damage spells other than that. So it's very much like a support piece units that we're seeing from these endless spells. But the article writer, let's get the old one back, because at least he could write articles that made sense. I think let's at least do that. What are your thoughts on these 3 endless spells? Either of you two?
So far, so good, but obviously there sounds like they are drip feeding us a lot of the stuff, so we need to see everything really before you can make a definite decision. But yeah, I don't. How do they look? I haven't actually had a good look at the picture.
I sent you a picture. James, you've seen
Oh,
them. What
there,
do you think?
it's that picture.
I think that'll be really interesting. I always think like
Mm.
with all the releases, everyone gets super excited or super bummed out or super salty. And I just think like there was 3 models that got released first: the Horseman, the Spearman, the Armor. I kind of fancied them then. The spells look cool. I think it will really matter like when we get to see the book, what the rules are, how they'll interact. Some endless spell sets I have, some I don't. I think endless spells are still one of the best things in the game. But actually, some of the old school ones are better than some of the faction ones still.
Yeah, definitely. I think the defensive one is the one for me that strikes fear into my heart. That +1 save and +1 to hit on something like
Okay.
Teclis.
Scrap everything I just said. I'm going to buy that to piss you off. So.
Good. All right. Nathan, what do you think?
Yeah, they look alright. I mean, I don't think the ender spells are their strongest
Model range.
but yeah, those look alright. I mean, there's runes. It's all about runes now with these guys. The scary mountain one looks like a mountain rune. So yeah. The other one, 2 stones, fair enough. And yeah, they look alright. They're not like amazeballs, but they're okay.
Okay. Well, perfect. Okay, so that's all the stuff that they've officially released. But since then, we get into the hot news about. So again, if you guys have just joined us, what happened is Games Workshop's White Dwarf, which contains a Lumineth Realm-lords battle report. Inside of it has got some information for us to take some pretty strong information from. But again, it's just like a first look. So there's loads more. James is right. There is points still to talk about. There's battle traits. There's how the rest of the army's put together. So don't run for the hills and be super upset if you don't like what you're hearing. But the first thing we should probably talk about is our boy on the ground, the stupidest looking donkey wizard in the world, Teclis. Because we have a points volley for him now.
Oh, he's just walking his thing. That's all he's doing. He's just walking that giant animal.
Of all the snapshots, in your life, someone's take a photo, oh yeah, you can take a photo now. This will be a nice. This will be my profile picture on Facebook. Do we really think that that's what Teclis would want? That pose.
Probably. He's a dickhead.
We haven't seen his good side. It's
He hasn't
hard
got
to
one.
know if that is it.
He hasn't got a good side. He's a dickhead.
No, there you go. See,
No.
so it is his good side.
All right, so some things that we've learned from this battle report are that Teclis costs 660 points. I'll just talk about a couple of the things as well. The big goat mountain men that we know about cost 360 points. So they're called Avellenor, I think. We've also found out that the Dawn Riders, so the cavalry, are worth 130 points for 5. The Stone Guard, so that's the hammers with the stupid hats, are 5 for 100 points. And that the Wardens and the Sentinels, and I think the Wardens are the guys with the spears, so they're 120 points for 10. And then for the Archers, the Sentinels, 140 points for 10. I think I've got that right. I think the Archers, and I'm actually quite scared about the 10 Archers for 140 points. But we don't know any of the rules for those yet. But that's actually one of the ones that's quite scary for me. Battle line Archers.
Depends if they hit on 4s and wounds on 4s.
Yeah, but if they're 30 inches and they hit on 3s, wound on 3s with Rend 1, I'm going to be upset and scared.
That'll be lovely. I'll just be like, Rob brought 30 archers. Let's play a game. Suit of armor, 30 archers. Done.
So Silver Templars in the chat says, don't be dissing the hats, Rob. When I heard about the new Elf Army giant cow hats were top of my wish list. Nathan, thoughts?
I think Nathan
But-
would look good in a giant cow hat.
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
I look good as a big gargan carrying a giant cow hat on my back. Mm.
I worry though, Nathan. You know, if you put a hat on like that was like their helmets, I don't
Yeah.
quite know about like light about pressure and stuff. You know, but you know, because of the smoothness of your head, can it like hermetically seal accidentally? Like is that how that works?
I
Maybe
have that
that's-
problem all the time.
Maybe that's why they've got the horny bits, because the hat hermetically seals their heads, and they try to yank it off. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay, whatever.
They're
Right.
just dickheads.
They are. That's true. Anyway, I apologise about that. So the news that we know about Teclis, I sent it to you guys, so I'm just going to go read this. Someone wrote it out into easier stuff for us to talk about. So Teclis has got an ability. So in the battle report, Teclis cast 4 spells automatically on a 10 plus to cast. Well, not on a 10 plus to cast. So he didn't roll any dice. He just elected to cast 4 different spells that were cast on a 10.
So he doesn't need to roll dice. He just says this cast on a 10.
Yes. The general theory is, or the things that have been bandied around in the gossip is, he casts 4 spells on a 10, or he can cast 3 spells on an 11, or he can cast 2 spells which are unbindable, automatically.
Unbindable, yeah.
Unbindable. So he just 4-3-2, depending on the importance of what you want. But even 4 at 10 to cast is pretty brilliant for a wizard, which probably means he also can unbind 4 spells as well. So he's a 4 cast wizard for 660 points. Pretty exciting. What do you think?
He should fit in the pants, all right?
James, you've seen this. What do you think about that rule?
It's an odd one, isn't it? Because I'm not sure it's very interactive.
No, it's a bit...
So when I read it earlier, I couldn't decide whether actually what it was saying was if you rolled a 10 plus, it always casts, but it doesn't make any sense that way, does it?
No.
Because
He chooses.
everything's going to cast on a 10.
Yeah, he chooses to cast X.
I think for me it'll be that debate of, is it any spell? So can I take a bunch of endless spells and every turn be like, he's cast Purple Stone, he's cast Swords.
Well, you can only cast one. You can only cast one endless spell from each wizard. That's a core mechanic.
Yeah, but so every turn, if I take 4, I'm guaranteed, aren't I? So I could literally be like, he's cast Purple Sun, I'll dispel Purple Sun, I've cast Purple Sun, like guaranteed the whole game. Or if it's he can cast 4 spells on a 10 plus, and what they've admitted is like, but it can only be spells from the core rulebook. So he can only guarantee cast, let's say he's 1 on his War Scroll, Arcane Bolt, and Mystic Shield. Then it's it's way worse, isn't it? I think that would be the debate for me. And hopefully it's more that way. Hopefully it's like he can do his spells and core rule spells, but not endless spells, etc.
So Nick in the chat, hi Nick Thompson, woohoo! Miss him. He's great. I haven't had a hug from a man who's like 4.5 foot in ages. He says, I wonder if Teclis has to use a CP to use that ability or not. Move or some sort of trade-off. Like there might be some sort of trade-off that we don't know about. Again, this is the first look. This is just some high-end gossip, but it's still pretty fun to get the excitement factor rolling around, right? So yeah, 4 spells on a 10 plus to cast. It might funny. Fuck you. Thanks, Nick. Anyway, he says so the spells though he does cast in the battle report though are pretty phenomenal, irregardless of whether or not you want him to cast a Purple Sun or not. So one of the spells he casts is Storm of Searing White Light. So that does mortal wounds on every Chaos unit within 18 inches. It's unclear on how many wounds it does, or if it's on a 4+, or if it, if it's wholly within. But still, all Chaos units within 18 inches. Super situational, obviously, but a pretty strong spell and a massive range.
That sounds like a great spell to me. I'm fine with that.
Okay, good. What? Because you hate chaos.
I've never played Chaos, so it's fine.
The other spell he has, War Scroll spell. So it might be his War Scroll spell, but it might not. It's Total Eclipse. Yeah.
Total Eclipse.
Total
Sweet.
Eclipse of the Heart.
You have to sing that every time you cast it. Apparently, is in the rules now.
Yeah, I agreed. What this does is in order to use a command ability, instead of spending 1 command point, you have to spend 2 command points. So, pretty good.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, that'll be a toughie for some people. Ossiarch Bone Reapers won't give a fuck.
No.
Yep.
But yeah, for some other people, that'll be harsh.
Slan won't care because they generate tons.
Yeah.
But yeah, some will really, really struggle, and it also makes you look at those abilities to generate more. But
The Legions of Nagash will hate that, won't they?
Well, yeah, absolutely. But like, if you think about how much it fucks up some armies, because it's not just this turn. It's not like once per battle. Like it's every turn. Because if you can cast that every turn, you will cast that every turn. So people just
On a 10+.
Well, yeah, and also if you're not rolling, it's just you choosing. You're like, cool.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So if you're like 10+ this,
yeah,
huge.
That's huge. So you just the ability to not do command abilities. Again, I think one of the guys in the chat is saying how uninteractive the choosing a 10+ is, and I agree with that. I think it is uninteractive. But then to also uninteractive debuff my army worse is pretty lame. But the first base quick, elves are boring. Let's talk about soul grinders. Yeah, baby.
He's telling the truth.
Nick,
He's telling the truth.
3 soul grinders are sat in my house behind me.
Oh, are they? What are they doing?
I took him to an event for a laugh.
Oh. Aaron says it makes Seraphon look pretty interactive, so that's a bonus for me. I think that's fair. Anyway, so that's a great spell, Total Eclipse, and you've got to sing a song. So then he's got another one, which is okay. I don't know. Oh, these are some of the other things that have been. So he's got a War Scroll spell, Assault Stone, which isn't been stated. A War Scroll spell, which is Living Fissure, which is interaction is not stated. He's got another ability which appears to stop wizards within a certain range from casting. Unclear if it's an aura ability or is select a wizard within range to stop them. So he does have the ability to shut down some sort of casting, but we don't know in what format yet. The other spell that we saw him cast, which I don't think is on here. Oh wait, Teclis most likely appears to have the ability to auto cast 4 spells. We saw that War Scroll spell, Protection, Teclis. So his War Scroll spell maybe, but a spell that he casts anyway is Protection of Teclis. All Lumineth units within. Now, in the battle report, you got to forgive the guys who are doing the battle report. They're not particularly top-tier gamers, so we don't know if it's within or wholly within, but at least within 18 inches, get a 5+ DPR.
That's pretty good.
So, like, if you guys don't know what that means, disgusting resilience or feel no pain or basically a Vermin Lord save, a save after damage. So basically, what I'm picturing now is you take Teclis, you cast a spell on him that makes him +1 save, -1 to hit. You fly him into the middle of the board. Yeah. You're given an aura out that makes everything have a 5+ DPR, including himself. So he's -1 to hit, +1 save, 5+ DPR. Yeah. Every chaos unit within 18 inches is taking some fucking damage, and he just sits there like a dick, literally like the mountain in the middle of the board, just firing off spells. I don't think mountains fire off spells, but you get the idea.
What army are you playing at the minute, Rob?
What am I playing at the minute? Nothing
Yeah, what
because of
army?
the fucking
No,
coronavirus, James.
So when
Yeah?
this is over, and if my elves have turned up, what army are you playing?
What am I playing? Giants, because I'm a narrative gamer and I can't be asked if you're
where did
Then
that
you've
come
got
from?
spells, just put elves in your pants. Try cast magic in there, motherfucker.
Anyway, that is a ludicrously strong spell because if you think about all those other units that we just talked about, well, we haven't even got to the units, but a 5+ army-wide ignore because that's most of the board in the right setting.
What's the range of it? Sorry.
18 inches.
Oh yeah, that's big. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris in the chat saying fucking everyone but Alariel gets a DPR now. She's a god. God damn it. Anyway, so that's Teclis' spell, which I think is fun. Now, just to talk about some of the other stuff that we've seen, you have the shooters can spend their Aether Quartz. So it seems like each one of the units is going to have Aether Quartz, and the shooters have got Aether Quartz to improve their shooting. The Wardens have an ability, a War Scroll spell maybe. So these are the guys with spears, which enable the unit to cause mortal wounds on a 5. It doesn't state whether or not it's to hit or to wound. So they might have mortals on to hit or to wound, so they can do some mortal wound output, which is interesting. So the big boy, the Avenal, the big cow, the Cow Mountain. I'm not going to say his name. So he's got Elder Wisdom, allows a command ability to be used without spending command points for a unit that's near him, which is pretty good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's got an ability which is Dazzling Brilliance. Nearby units are -1 to hit. The range is unclear. So you can have -1 to hit, 5+ DPR. Also next to Teclis, -2 to, with his spell, -2 to hit, 5+ DPR, +1 save. And apparently he's also decent in a fight, but obviously that's White Dwarf Battle Report hyperbole, so we don't know if that's true. So then other units... Oh, he's also 360 points, Nath. So that big cowboy looks like he could be pretty decent, right?
360 points for the mountain cow.
Yeah.
Cow Mountain.
Which puts it
Cool.
around like the 12 to 14 wound mark, right? I think it's going to have like 14 to 16 wounds.
Yeah, it's got to have 14, 15 somewhere there, I reckon. Interesting.
Do you know what? I have always loved me and James have been talking for a long time about how we're both going to collect the Lumineth Realm-lords, and we're super into them. And as a long-time elf lover, and I'm also a huge fan of goats. I'm also a huge fan of goats.
Good.
Yeah. Did I tell you I met a cow yesterday?
No.
Yeah, that
what
cow.
did you say? You're also into goats?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. You did say you were an elf lover, so yeah.
I am. Right, so the Stone Mage has got a spell, so this is one of the wizards, that halves the movement of a unit. Again, we don't know what range it's within. Spell Law Entomb has a casting range unknown. It appears to allow you to select an enemy model and either slay it on a dice or do some mortal wounds, but effectively something that picks something out. So this is all getting a bit hyperbolic now, so I'll move on. I might not even be using that word right. So the final bit is the Stone Guard, so the Hammer Boys, right?
Yeah.
So they've got some stuff that we know about now. Don't forget, there's 100 points for 5 of them. So we don't know if they've got 2 wounds each or whatever the situation. So they've got an ability called Mountain Stance. If a weapon that has a rend characteristic of 1 hits them, the rend is reduced to dash. This is further boosted by being in the sub-faction. So we know that there are some sub-factions now, and one of them is the great nation of Ymetrica. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
It's a great nation. Love
Great
it. Love that nation.
Actually, my favourite nation. I don't know.
Make your Metrica greater again.
They've got that on their hats. You can write a whole story on your hat because it's so fucking big.
Okay, so now they might have 1 wound, they might have 2 wounds, but they're 5 up say. Sorry, not their 5
Their
save,
hat's probably got 5 wounds.
Yeah, but
And
100.
an elf underneath 1 wound.
That would be great if their hats come off. So 2 wounds, hat off.
Tinier elf
sorted.
underneath the hat.
They're obviously compensating for something. I wonder what it is. Being an
Anyway,
elf. Yeah.
so if you're from the great nation of Ymetrica, then that means you get to ignore rend of 2, which is pretty strong. Yeah. Now that you can spend your Aether Quartz, so if each unit just has 1, like they do with the KO. Nath, do you want to explain quickly how the KO Aether Quartz, well, not the Aether Quartz, but the gold works?
So with that, it's a resource that you can spend, and then you can use it to activate one of the core command abilities. Are they called? Yeah. The basic ones that you've got where you can run 6 and all of that. But the thing with that is you can only spend one per phase. So like only one unit can spend one thing, and they only start with one at the beginning of the battle. There's a few ways where you can give some of them extra ones, but not very many. So it'd be interesting if there is stringent or stingy with that resource with these elves, or if they're just like, yeah, have all the stuff.
All the Aether Quartz.
Yeah,
Okay.
it'd be interesting to see if they can. Yeah, for Triumph, that's what they're called. Be interesting to see if they can. Yeah, if they can only use it like one. If only one unit can use it per phase, or if they decided to be a lot more lenient on these elf bastards.
So Nathan, you still is the KO mechanic in addition? Hey, Velatron, by the way, in addition to command points or instead of a la OBR?
No, it's in addition. So you've still got command points as normal. This is your command ability. So this is your allegiance ability. So it's something that gives you access to the triumphs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually think. Go on.
Sorry, carry on.
No, you go.
So yeah, it's separate. So you still got command points which you can use to also access things, the other resource. So yeah.
Okay, well, so if they spend their Aether Quartz, these Hammer Boy unit, they get +1 to their save. So that is if they use their mountain stance and if they're in Metrica. So there's a lot of things going on there. They've used an ability, which probably is an ability they can do every combat phase, a bit like we've seen Kurnoth Hunters can do the same thing, obviously, and there's a couple of other units that can do things in their phase. So they can ignore that Ren 1. If they're a specific subfaction Ren 2, and if they use their resource, so obviously be cautious with being too upset about this, they can get +1 to their save. So they comfortably could be on a 3-up save, ignoring Ren 2, which is pretty strong. If Teclis is nearby, or if he's doing that spell, he can have a 5+ DPR if there's a mountain nearby. But you're spending a lot of points at that point, having Teclis and the mountain. And the Hammer Boys, that's like 1,000 points already. Obviously, they could have a 5+ DPR, -1 to hit. All the fucking fun of the fair. So there's a lot. We're saying a lot to make that happen. So I wouldn't be too stressed. But it still sounds very strong, right?
Yeah. So they've got lines of synergies again, but they sound like they're not too difficult to maintain because it sounds like they've got big ranges on them, 18-inch bubbles and stuff like that.
Yes, yeah, that's huge. If it's not wholly within 18, I'm going to be like, lol.
It's got to be wholly within, though, hasn't it?
It's got, you would think it's wholly within.
But even wholly within 18 is decent.
Right? It is. That is all right as a range, really. 18 inches is good.
And then lastly, they've got an ability, Tectonic Force.
Yeah, but it just makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Ability Tectonic Force pushes a unit back at least 2 inches. Appears to happen at the end of the combat phase. So get in a fight, do your fight, and then ability, maybe they do that instead of +1, ignore rend or whatever it might be. Or maybe it's in addition, but then they push the guys back 2 inches as well, which could be quite cool for getting the unit out of combat for the next turn, if that's what you want to do. So I think that that's fun.
Pushing them off of objectives, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Well, so that's everything that we know, and that isn't a lot. And I know a lot of it's like, a bit of this and a bit of that, but it's just so exciting that I just wanted to talk about it today. And I don't think there's anything of value in there because it's just getting in the mix on the story, but it's just really fun. It's 2 inches, yeah. You push the unit back 2 inches as opposed to 3 inches, which is a big difference. Because 3 inches, you can push them out of combat, but 2 inches, you can't push them out of combat. You can push them to the edge of combat. I don't know if that's important, but yeah. What do you guys think? James, you're getting these guys. I know you're getting them no matter what the rules were anyway, but are you excited about some of this stuff?
Yeah, I think so. So I think I was going to buy them anyway, so I'm kind of hoping, and I know the rules aren't archers, horses, and the ghost armor were my big really want those. The Hammer Boy rules are pretty cool. I'm still not sure on the hats. But yeah, so I'm excited. I think it's exciting. They're dumb, but they look like they'll clip off, so that's fine. I think they look cool. The rules look good, and I'm hoping that there's some non-oppressive, lists in there. I guess. It's interesting, isn't it? As we went through, all I thought about when we started talking about the command point thing was that this is the army that eradicates the army I was going to play all this year, and obviously haven't. But it played 2 events at the beginning of the year, which was the Slaves to Darkness Ravagers, which basically needed command points to keep bringing Marauders on. So if they made it take 2, my whole army was pointless.
Yeah, and the fact that they can automatically do it, well, not automatically, but if Teclis can choose, I think one of the big problems for people, in any situation, is where I get that someone's meant to be powerful, right? Like Teclis is a grand wizard, but the ability to just choose to do things over your opponent, someone with Gusto being like, "I'll try and stop that 11," and you're like, "Oh," and then I really don't like the CP mechanic. I don't mind the 5+ you steal a CP that you've seen a couple of times. I feel that that's okay. But just oppressively fucking with someone's army and their ability to play the game is always a negative play experience, or an NPE as we call it. And I don't want the elves to be that. I want them to be good, and I want to kick their faces in because I hate them. But I don't want them to be a negative play experience. And it does sound like some of the elements that they do have that, which is unfortunate because it's going to affect people's games. Nath, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it sounds like they're going to be quite good at interrupting other people's synergies. Mm-hmm. So they're gonna be interrupting people casting spells. So that means you're going to lose all your buffs or debuffs. It sounds like they're going to fuck about with your command points again, losing another chain of buffs. So it might make people change army builds, because I think you've got the same thing with a couple of other armies where they mess about with your CPs. I mean, that OBR guy, what the hell's his name? The main dude.
Valentine.
What?
Oh no, sorry, Catacross. Sorry.
Yeah, Catacross. Valentine. Catacross nicking your command points. That's something that you have to be aware of. So it might make people re-look at how they build their armies. It would be a shame to lose armies which use synergy chains to make stuff happen. Because those are, I quite like those, but it means that you'll probably be looking at more units that can perform without having to rely on buffs. So it'll make other units a bit stronger.
Yeah, I think one of the key
or
elements
buffs that don't rely on external sources. So like a War Chanter buff, it's just like he looks at a unit and says, "Oh, you guys get an extra pip of damage." He doesn't have to use a command point. He doesn't have to do anything other than just say those words to those guys, and off they go. So, yeah. It'll make units like that feel a little bit. You'll feel like you get more value out of them, whereas if you're relying on a shaman to cast -1 to hit on you, then there's a good chance you're not going to be getting stuff like that off, because these guys keep stuffing it up. So
yeah, I'd also argue that that as much as none of us like negative play experience armies or units, and I think there are some examples of those. I think Croak's fairly one of those examples. Destiny Dice is a long time enemy in that field. The problem is when the game designers put it in the game, people are going to use it, and it's completely fair to use it. But there are examples of game systems where control decks, I'm thinking obviously of Magic the Gathering, and I don't have a deep knowledge of Magic, so I don't want to bandy and pretend that I do, but if you haven't played it, Magic the Gathering, effectively you've got a way of building your cards, so really what you're doing is fucking with your opponent's cards. And some people like that playstyle. It's like it's a genuine gaming playstyle that's existed for a long time, right? Like debuffing. As much as people like being a healer, people like doing the other thing and dicking around and fucking your shit up. So, like, there's if this is the debuff or the negative play experience army, if you will, then there's something to be said for that, because a lot of the spells are fairly controlling, right? Like the spell that stops movement and does damage, that's got that kind of control element. The spell that makes you like minus to hit and +1 save is that control element. So there's a lot of like control being done by these people. Like even the pushing your unit 2 inches away. Like if that's an elected choice, like if you can decide to move a unit 2 inches away, you're choosing how that army is moving around, which I think is actually kind of interesting. I don't overly want someone to be like, you're spending 2 command points now, but like, well, that's lame. Because it makes whole army lists not viable anymore. But with the moving on game state, like James said, like he wouldn't have been able to play his army that he played previously. So so that's something that we have to think about at list writing, right?
Yeah, I think there'll be an interesting point. So, and I guess because I messed about with it at the beginning of playing Slaves to Darkness, like everyone got really like crazy, like worried and upset about that Archaon rule of basically knowing who's going next or knowing turn priority. And obviously, like we've not seen it really played, not at a tournament level, I wouldn't say, because actually it minimised your play style. So, I mean, again, I'm just speculating, but there is a chance maybe that command point rule is a spell that you have to choose and you can only take it on Teclis, and then that would be his only spell, so you'd forfeit taking better ones. So it's interesting, isn't it?
In the battle report, he did in one turn the Chaos spell, the 5+ DPR spell, the double command point spell, and another spell. Arcane Bolt, I think.
Fair.
So he did that in one turn with 4 10+s to cast.
Yeah, so what I mean is though, so like the Archaon thing, so it has to be in a specific like faction, doesn't it? And you have to take Archaon. So, and that is a White Dwarf battle plan. So there could be some narrative editing. So I think like it is super uninteractive if it works that way. But I do think the internet blows up, and actually it'll be more exciting to kind of see and talk about that like with more information as well, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you should. I'm not trying to, but some of the elements are facts. You can cast a spell.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's on a 10+ all the time or like a 2 or whatever. There's a spell inside the book which is unique to the game, which makes you double how many command points you have to spend for command ability. That's a thing. Like, and it's cool that it's a thing. Like, I'm not someone who doesn't think it's like. I like when there's new spaces explored in the game. I think that's interesting. It doesn't sound like it'll be very fun to play against, because then you now have to write a new list and be like, well, I can't have twice as many command points now. Or like, some armies don't give a shit. Nathan's Grots are like loving life. They've got like command points coming out their arse. So is Seraphon. OBR don't care. So there's at least 3 armies that don't give a shit. And then some armies maybe don't even care about their command point resource. I know my Chaos Dwarves, I didn't care about my command point resource, apart from to make my Kadai immune to battle shot.
Yeah, it just means if you are heavily reliant on command points, then you've got to be aware that there's this thing could happen, and in that case, you just got to think, well, if the command point thing is hampered, how what other avenues are open to me with that army that I've got? Can I still fight a battle? Does it mean that now I've got to target this dude? So can I do it without command points and formulate a way which you can? And then once that dude's gone, then your command points will start coming back, and then you can open up your normal modus of operandi.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's really fair. Some of the other stuff that's coming out in the chat as well is Velatron says people talk often about rock, paper, scissors, but the reality is the more armies Games Workshop releases and the more unique the playstyle they try to invent, we will end up with some armies better against others, and tournament-wise becomes luck of the draw.
Yeah.
We've also seen Games Workshop, with their first iteration of rules, do a shitty job let's say, or an okay-ish job. But as the iterations have gone forward, they've gone better. Sometimes that's not the case with the Khorne book, but I definitely think with the Ironjawz book that they've understood the Ironjawz units more. Bone Splitters they've understood more as time has gone on, and they've like made better versions of some of those war scrolls, which has been good. But yeah, it's an interesting first look. I'm not gonna lie, especially because of that article. Because that article writer's a new starter. Like,
I'd like to know what the that spell that basically just counts things. Like, what's that bring into the game?
just the bead counter.
Yeah.
Also, I like that it specifically tells you have to use a dice. I think that's the first spell I've ever seen. Put a dice next to it. Start it on 1. Now count.
Not a token.
Do you think that spell was maybe added for the Warhammer schools thing? We're helping kids to learn to count.
To 6.
Yeah, to 6. No higher.
But you have to buy this £80 model before you can do so.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, for me, it's quite interesting. It already makes me. I like learning these things because it immediately makes me stop writing army lists like dead. You know, now I'm like. So you got Nagash Petrifex is also really good. You know, you have to and Croak is dumb. Like, he's going to cast from anywhere on the board, and he's going to unbind with maybe +2, +3, +4 anywhere on the board. So really, you got to ask yourself: is there any point taking any wizards at all? You might be like, oh, I'll take that wizard for that spell, but probably not. The one I think about a lot is I quite often think about plugging in the old Incantor and the Comet, but he never has any pluses to cast, and with all the pluses to unbind that are in the world now at ridiculous range, I just reckon he's no longer a viable option, and I more want to go down like the Celestant Prime as an ally because he drops in and does the mortal wounds and can beat up those wizards in the back line. And also, ultimately, I think that you're not going to get loads of these Lumineth guys on the tabletop. Like Teclis being 660 points is already quite a bit. But the Spearmen aren't that expensive. 120 points for 10 dudes. Probably they've got a 4-up save. So that's pretty cheap, really. But the archers, I think, are quite scary, because if the archers are good, I don't want battle line units with great archers, and elves probably will hit on 3s if they're archers.
They better.
Yeah. They're probably 3s and 3s, but no rend, you would have thought.
Well, and maybe they're 3s, no rend, and they spend that Aether Quartz for like a rend for a turn or something.
Yeah. Or 10 mortal wounds every 6 to hit. Who knows?
Yeah.
I want that one.
I want that one.
4 shots each.
4 shots each. Let's go.
I just brought 90 archers.
So what's everyone
and the game's over.
So what's everyone in the Twitch chat think? I know, especially during this time when we can't play, it can feel a little oppressive when Games Workshop release a new army. I know people talk about power creep, and I think that sometimes that's a valid point. It can feel like, and I know people sometimes can feel a little despondent, especially if their book seems to be just not as good as this book. I'm here painting this Gaunt Summoner up right now, and I'm like, this motherfucker 3 months ago was all the bee's knees, and now he's going to get shot off the board by some bird donkey or whatever Teclis is. I think that's the thing that offends me the most. If Teclis is really good, I'm going to have to stare at across the badly painted as well. I'm going to have to stare at really badly painted Teclises, yeah, right? And they're going to be like, oh, I just really like these guys. And I'm like, why are they ghosts? Why have you sprayed these white and covered them in the halox oxide? Yeah.
They're souls. They're the souls of elves, Rob. They haven't yet manifested.
Those elves haven't got any souls.
I'd love to see someone play the whole army. If someone does this, take a photo and send it. The whole army just white with oxide on, all ghosts, and then the armor actually painted.
Yeah, I'd take that. I'd take that.
Cool.
That'd be fine. Pete said that he's seen it discussed that the archers might ignore line of sight, which would be a quite unique thing if that's true. And also, Velatron makes the best point. Teclis can cast 4 spells, but you still have to buy and build a fugly model, so it's fine. And if you are someone who's planning on collecting the elves like James is, obviously, from the bottom of my heart, I really do mean that that it's ugly and it's offensive if you do buy it. Nathan, what do you think? Overall, anything to say about them?
Well, elves.
Yeah, the
fit-
whole thing. Everything we've
Yeah.
talked about.
Sounds like it'll fit nicely in my pants.
Perfect. Couldn't agree with you more. James, what are your thoughts?
I like them already, and now that they offend you, I like them even more. So all in.
Do you know what? They don't offend me. I like, gone are the days where I'm just like, you fucking Muppets. It's just another, like, hilarious, like, I can see why people can be despondent when they see very strong rules, especially, as you said, they don't see it in context of the rest of the book. Yeah, maybe they can't do a one drop. You know, maybe
Yeah,
they're
I think that for me, like that's still like I guess I hobby like people can hobby for different reasons, don't they? So I like a chat, a beer, and a game to last as long as like 2 hours and 30 minutes because that's optimal. Doesn't matter if it goes 5 turns. If it lasts 2 hours and 30 minutes, I'm generally happy.
Yeah, basically you're making someone be your friend for 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
But so like I think like every time a rule happens, the internet blows up. People cry about it for like 3 weeks, and then the book comes out, and actually there's normally either a more offensive rule or the rule that offended everyone is actually shit. And then that gets forgot, and it all changes.
Well, I think the fair thing is also sometimes there are people who are articulate and knowledgeable enough about the rules that when they see something that's a bit bent, they go, that's a bit bent. And then, like, the Vortex is a good example, or Strike Twice on the Ghoul King on Terrorgeist. Like, those things got released. I remember being in a chat with someone and me just being like, what, plus D3 attacks on a unit that can strike twice? And then they were like, yeah, it won't even be that hard. It'll be really hard to do. I was like, it's cast a spell and a command ability. Like, grow up. Like, it's not hard.
The worst thing is, what everyone seems to have forgotten is there is a rule somewhere in this elf book that they get to pick 2 units every time they fight as well.
No, I know that.
Okay, good.
But I'm okay with that. Because also, like, as much as Teclis has done, everything Teclis is doing in that spell setup that we just talked about, obviously there's the 18-inch Chaos bubble, whatever that is, but everything else he's doing is debuffing or buffing his army. It's no direct damage, so he's not doing, like, D6 mortal wounds, he's not doing, that we've seen so far. So that's why I feel like it's more of like a control deck list, because it's, you know, he's like, my army's stronger, your army's shitter, carry on. And that's good for 660 points. That's support roll, but it means that you're playing with 1,400 points that's stronger versus your opponent's army that's 2,000 points and might be a bit weaker. So that's a kind of cool way to look at it. Maybe I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm just banging on now.
Well, I think they're definitely in the class, aren't they? With Slanesh and the Big War and Seraphon and all of those lads who are pretty hard. So these guys look like they'll be pretty hard too.
It's pretty hard. We're in the new pretty hard meta of 2020. 2020 hasn't been like, I don't know what we were expecting. Like, there were forest fires, plagues of locusts, a global pandemic, you know, and then someone's like, I reckon the Lumineth Realm-lords are a bit bent, and it's like, well, fucking pile it on. Get it in 2020.
Isn't it like giant killer bees coming next? Isn't that the next thing?
Yeah, murder hornets. That's
it. Those are the ones.
Let's
get
murder
me some
hornets.
of them. I'm gonna spray some, put them on my elf bases, and be like, you win, I'll throw this hornet at you.
So I don't know what anyone else was expecting in 2020. To be honest, I'm surprised that they're only this good. This seems fine. Yeah, Speckles is right in the chat. Nagash OBR seems like a good counter to them already, though. Good unbinding ability.
Shut up, Speckles. Get him out.
All right, well, I think that's all we've got time for, unless anyone's got any questions, because there's really not anything else to say about the stuff that we've seen. I, for one, how do you two feel about there being new cool stuff to digest? For me, that's quite exciting. I quite like it. There's new fun stuff.
It's good that stuff is starting to come through. Definitely.
Yeah. James, thoughts?
Yeah, super excited. I think it'll be nice to like try and resume some normality to it all. Especially considering like how much of the hobby is already like just disappeared off the face of the earth.
Yes. Yeah, especially as we can't go play, which is the worst bit. Nathan, we've had a question in the chat from Vangelis. He says, can you do the mountain pose?
That'll be on my OnlyFans account.
And what's the username for that, Nathan?
What's the username, Nath?
Just a second. Where the hell's my phone? Yeah.
Oh my god, brilliant. Sold.
Yeah.
We're waiting
Cool. Oh, you're waiting for it.
for the name, yeah. Unless you could tell us that you were lying, but
I'll send you a link later after the show.
perfect. Perfect. Is
Because I
it?
don't know how to send links off
Can
of
I
this.
can I just say that Halalex might have come up with the perfect name for you? Onlyfans.com/in-my-pants.
Damn it! I'll have to change it.
Nathan's got some tips for his OnlyFans page.
He's got a 100-bit donation for your.
That might get you a private video if you ask nicely.
Yeah. Yeah,
Doing the mountain pose.
Oh my god! I'm going to make an OnlyFans for the Honest Wargamer. We can all send pics. It's going to be the
Maybe
best.
we should do a topless calendar that we'll have people pay to not get.
Yeah, don't want this. Otherwise, it's like glitter
If
bombs to
you
your
don't
house.
want this in the world, if you don't want this in every Bobo goodie bag, donate a tenner.
Yeah. Dexamon said, "I will become even more broke if Nathan did that." So there you go. And Dexamon just spent. Hookerpins just donated some more bits. Nathan, you're loving it now.
I've just sent it. I've just sent the link to your WhatsApp.
All right, perfect. Is it onlyfans.com/robsatwat? Because
No. Anyway, cool. You can have a look at that after the show.
I shan't. Right, listen. So listen, before we go, I want to find. What are yours two plans for this week? Got any plans, Nathan? Also, Twitch chat. What are your plans, James? Plans?
I'm hoping some 40k stuff turns up, and if it does, I'm gonna build and paint some 40k. That's it, I think. Probably do some cycling.
Oh, Velatron has just donated 1,000 bits to stop the naked calendar. Velatron, what the fuck, man?
Velatron,
What the
thought you'd
hell?
want it.
That's it.
Somebody's got brains.
I'm just gonna DM some topless pics now, just cause.
Let's all just do it.
Coming your way. Cool.
So you are going to play some 40k? No, you're going to build some 40k.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Okay, I've got some Custodies Dreadnoughts if you want to do some trading, FYI.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Nathan, you got any plans this week?
I'm hoping actually. I think I've got a free evening, a couple of free evenings this week, so I hope to pick up a paintbrush.
Yes.
And finish those little bastard Gobberpalooza because they're going to be really useful.
What, against the Realm-lords? Yeah,
Against everybody. The Realm-lords, Croak, all of those lads.
Yeah, stronger. Good. I'm going to finish painting up these, my Zinch stuff. Can't wait to see that get blasted off the table. It's going to be fun. No, but honestly, I'm just enjoying getting the army finished. Like, it's quite fun. I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, I don't give a shit.
I think it's the first army you've finished the whole time I've known you.
Yeah, right. So, whatever. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I mean, Zinch and OBR are also hard lads, aren't they, really? There's loads of hard lads out there. It's good.
There's loads of hard lads. Yeah, it's going to be really good. I don't believe Rob if he tells you we're off air now. It's safe to talk at James. It's super safe. Don't worry about that. It's fine. So with that said, and we all know what we're going to do, we've obviously got some cool shows this week. But please do, if you are listening now, you can tune into Honest Wargamer later tonight. Check our Twitter account. I'll put up a time for it where Dan and the Rage of Sigmar guys, Tristan and Sneeze, will be playing the Soulbound RPG on the channel, which is going to be very exciting. So please do tune in for that.
What time's that? Sorry, again?
It's later.
Okay, and will they be making a podcast with that, or is it only going to be on Twitch?
They will be making a podcast with that as well. So that's going to be really fun. I'd like to do that with you guys as well, but it's finding the time for us to also add that in. That would be really fun.
Maybe we should do like once a month on a Monday single stories.
Don't know what that means. I'm into it. Let's do it.
So you just do one off thing. We change.
Yeah,
carry the same character.
Yeah, I want to do it because I want to be like...
Build a character, go into the pub, burn the pub down, leave the pub.
Perfect.
We're
Perfect. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, pretty much done.
okay. What was the follow-up? Yes. All right, sweet. But we'll work it out anyway. We'll talk about it after the show. But thank you to everyone who's joined us live. Azrak, Vangelis, Elm, K-Dread, Jonathan Etlin, Chris, Fellatron, Hook and Pin, Nick. I haven't seen Nick in a while. It's really nice to see him. Pete Pratt, love you. Halalex, Mr. Teej, Speckles, also like that guy, clap Speckles. Hook and Pin, Irish Minotaur, Powell, oh, you're there. Rich Arnold, Dexamon, thanks to you guys for being here. You guys are great. Fuck you, buddies. Thank you to everyone else. We're going to Patreon. Couldn't do it without you. Thank you to everyone listening to the podcast. Please stay hydrated. Have you two got any final thoughts? Anything you wanted to say to the guys?
Miss you all. Can't wait to beat you all with some elves.
Okay.
See you later on OnlyFans. Cheers.
There we go. All finished. Happy with that? Good. Sweet. Me too. I promise you. I swear on my mother's life. How dare you? They're my friends. You're not going to get caught out this time.